What are you doing there, Joss? You look like you're trussing someone up to your chair.
New chair, I think.
It's not. It is a new chair, but it's not for me.
Or is it Rachel?
Right.
Yeah.
So is this so on the discussion I was with Rachel wanted a new chair. Joe said, why don't you wait until you start your job?
Why don't you wait for what?
She's got a new job. She starts a new job in about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
but
Wait until why don't you wait because you'll have they might give you one. Rachel now has a new chair.
So you know who won that discussion.
And you know what will be so funny, Duke, if she gets a new chair that's better than that one.
Well, then I'll have a new chair then, won't I?
So
You get a new,
It's not going as smooth as I'd like it to, Jez, by the way.
what, unpacking it?
Do you need me to come round, Dooch?
Anyway, we'll worry about that later.
You're listening to Housecast, the official Lowerhouse Cricket Club podcast. Shout out to our sponsors Spoonful of Sweets, Virtual Food Service, Milltown Pies and Rexel. Up the house.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Housecast, the legendary podcast from Lowerhouse Cricket Club. We've not done it for a while, but we're eager to get back. We're eager to chat about the games. I think we've all got a little bit too busy and a little bit other things on that we're prioritising more, but I can guarantee it won't go away. If we do them once a month, once every 6 months or once a year, we'll carry on doing the podcast and we'll get the young juniors in to help us out. So tonight we've got a real special guest. We maybe should have had him on a little bit before now, but he's been a touch busy. We've all been a touch busy, and I think halfway through the season is a good time to get this young man on to talk about his career and how he's feeling at Lowerhouse. But before we go there, I've got all the regular, reliable co-stars, Joe Beneduces and Joe Martin. We'll go to Martin first. Joe, how's it going?
Very well, Jeremy. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. It's a practice night. You've hopefully been practicing.
I have.
How's it going with the practice and with the damp conditions now?
Some balls at Wes, and then I attempted to catch some. And
Okay.
it's fine.
Do you still work hard? I remember, going back donkey's years, Joe and myself, and before Joe Dooch, we would just mess about and have a few pints afterwards, just maybe once round the field, and that was it. Do you still train like you did 10 years ago when I came down and watched you all?
Well, we're a slightly different team now, Jez. We're all a little bit older. We're all a little bit older, a little bit stiffer, and a little bit more injured. So we, as the people would say, we know our own games, and we need to.
But do you not think there are some young players, and we'll come on to that after Sunday's game? You've got some young lads that are coming through now. We've been through the seconds, and they're still under 20. Do they not need some guidance of proper practice and training and fitness?
Yeah, and they do get that.
Who from?
Well, we have a series of coaches.
Good. Well, that's brilliant. That's what the fans want to hear. It's not about you old duffers that just sit around tossing it off.
Not quite yet an old duffer.
You say that. So who coaches the young kids, around the fitness levels?
I don't know about fitness levels, but cricket levels.
Yeah.
We have John Briley that comes on a Tuesday. So John used
brilliant.
And he was my first ever wicket-keeping coach as well.
Yeah, good lad, John. Great lad, good player.
And on a Thursday, Francois runs the session.
Brilliant. And it's evident from what we're seeing this year that the young players do benefit from it and are developing well. So great work, that, Joe. Dooch, how's it going? We had 5 minutes together on Sunday. Are you okay?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, very good day Sunday. I'm sure we'll come on to it later, but it was a great afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. We've dialed in for probably about 7 or 8 minutes now. So I've seen the video. There is some audio around it, and you seem to be wrestling with something in the background constantly. I'm not sure if it's a polar bear or something that you're trying to either truss up with a load of tape or take tape off. What are you doing?
I'm trying to assemble a desk chair, that's all. It's nothing exciting. Nobody needs to know about it. Nobody will be interested, Jez. Just I'm trying to assemble a desk chair. But as you know, I've discussed before, when it comes to manual tasks, my skill set is not quite where it should be. So even though it seems a very, very simple job, I'm struggling with it. But anyway, we'll get there.
Yes, I'm for updates throughout the podcast to see where we're up to.
Okay.
I agree, because it didn't look like a chair that was being dismantled. At one stage, I saw your right leg being cocked over the back of it, and I wondered what you were trying to do to hold it down.
I'm just trying to build a chair. That's all I'm doing.
It's funny you should say that. You do remind me quite a lot of my middle brother around DIY. Matt's okay, but Nicky has a problem. He keeps dropping everything, and his nickname when we're doing jobs is Dick Fingers. So maybe you could be Dick Fingers too.
Okay.
So anyway, can we quickly just talk? I just want 2 minutes around Sunday's game. And I'd like this to go to Joe Martin before we bring the guest in, just to build up the atmosphere and the feeling within the dressing room. Burnley away, big game, first against top of the league against second in the league. Not sure that's happened before, in such circumstances where it's baking out, it's 27, 28 degrees. Lowerhouse win the toss and field. So Joe Martin, just tell us about the build up to the game and then that decision to field when you've won the toss.
So there was no real difference in preparation.
Okay.
We had Henry and Tommy Robinson were already playing for the Lancashire under-18 league interleague team. So that meant some of the second teams had an opportunity to play in a really big game. So that was good. And we won the toss and bowled. And the thinking behind it was we knew there was rain about. We weren't really sure when it was going to come, but we knew that we were going to get some rain. So we thought that would give us the best opportunity to win the game.
Dooch, what's your thoughts around that?
I just want to big up the captain because I spoke to him on the morning of the game, and he said that if he won the toss, he was definitely going to bowl first because he thought that the Burnley batting lineup would be one paced, not aggressive enough to put us under any pressure. And if the overs started being reduced, he thought they would be potentially in a bit of a hole, and we'd be able to control the run rate and leave ourselves an easier job in the second innings. And he called that on the morning of the game, and it is exactly as it transpired.
And just as another pointer, Jez, why I'll never be captain, I'd always bat first. So there you go. Without any kind of consideration for team, pitch or anything, bat.
That is really interesting because, I'm with you, Joe Martin, and historically you'd think that, and, with the way that, we didn't have Joe Hawke or, the way that the game could go and the weather can change. But I've got to admit, early on, when I saw the forecast, 11 o'clock-ish, I thought, crikey, this is a big call list. And it takes some balls to do it. I hope he does it. And thankfully, good on him for thinking it through. And the way it turned out was probably even better than anticipated. So great work, Ben. It was, it's a tough call and you did it and you deserve the plaudits for it, the way the game progressed. And we will go into the game. Before we do, obviously people who are listening know it was a great victory. And I think it's a significant victory, bearing in mind, one, the players that were missing, two, the scoring rate of Burnley and then the way it changed. So I think it's a great time to bring in our guest for this evening, just to ask him about his thoughts on that game before we go in to talk about him and his career. So, ladies and gentlemen, at long last, we've got our 2023 cricket professional on, Ruan de Swardt. Welcome, Ruan. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, not too bad.
That's good. Are you settled in okay? I know it's halfway through the season. Things going all right for you personally? And I believe Matt Stanley's mentioned about a few issues with the car that he didn't tax.
Oh, yeah.
And a few other things that have gone on. How's things for you in Burnley and at Lowerhouse?
Yeah, it's actually been very good. I actually had some pleasant weather for the weeks I was here. I knew it was, but I didn't think that we would have 5 different seasons in one day. So that's been a little bit of an adjustment. But other than that, settled in nicely. I think Lowerhouse is a very family club, so it was quite easy to settle in and get along with the guys. And we've got a great group of guys off the field, and you can see how our performance on the field reciprocates. It's very nice.
Yeah. I mean that's lovely of you to say. And previous pros have settled in, and we're looking at pros that have played for us, and then they come back and play again, or come back to visitors. There's no one ever, apart from one. There's no other pros that really have struggled with us. It's interesting, Ryan. You're 25 now. You came with a great pedigree. The likes of Matt Stanley and the other people who are on that committee that look at the professionals, look at you coming in and speak to the likes of Corbus, who played for us, and others. What over the last 4 or 5 years, how has your career developed back in South Africa? Who did you play for? What standard were you playing at? Have you looked at coming over to the UK again? I'm asking lots of questions there, but just tell us about your last 4 or 5 years, Ruan, please.
Yeah, so obviously school about 6 years ago, straight into university at Tuks, played some club cricket that side. I then, at the age of 20, I got called up Northern below, in your guys' terms, the county division. So I played there around probably a year or two. Got a contract for the Titans, the main team, my first professional. And then at the age of 22, I decided to move down to Durban to play my cricket at the Dolphins. I had a very good season. I was actually the season of COVID. When COVID started, our season got cut short. So I had a really Titans obviously asked me to stay, but didn't get a lot of opportunity to play for the Titans, even though I had quite a good season. And decided to move over to Durban. Learned a lot there in Durban for around 3 years. Learned a lot about myself. You're quite isolated because my whole family comes from Pretoria, where Titans obviously is my home union and home base. So that was probably one of the biggest challenges I've had to face throughout my career, being away from home, trying to adapt to new conditions. Obviously, much better conditions for batting down at the Titans, whereas going down to Durban, I think I equipped myself with a lot more skills and getting ways to adapt to new wickets. And I've currently signed for West Dragons in Potchefstroom, which is about an hour's drive from where I live. I think that was I think it's a good career move for myself with regards to batting and bowling those conditions, what I do. So it's actually been a tough couple of years for me. I've done really well, but didn't get the opportunity that I would have liked to. I obviously got into the National Academy setup for Cricket South Africa, and I'm in the pipeline of going SAA and Pro Team. Very good learning curve for me moving down to Durban, but yeah, I'm excited to play my cricket down at the Highveld where I know everything about it.
And it's interesting that you say that, Ruan, that we non-professional sports people, would think, sportsman, it's easy, you can develop where you want, and it's all fun, and you're playing sport that you enjoy, it's part of your living. But when you're moving home at 20, when going into a new area, and it doesn't matter whether you're going from Manchester to Bristol or from Melbourne down to Brisbane, as you say, moving the length of South Africa, it's still a big upheaval, and it does take its toll. Do you get some support? Do professional cricketers in South Africa? And I think you know where I'm coming from with this. There are issues there still. There's some fantastic players there, but there is still that issues of the quota system and the legacy that has brought. Does that add extra pressure on young players who are looking to get into the international setup?
I think it does play quite a big role in probably the mental side of the game. I think for me, especially from a young age, coming out of school, I knew it was just going to be easy, going to go out and go into the professional setup straight away. But my thing is, if there's 5 places that you need to play for, you need to work as hard as you can. But I think, as I said in the start, it's probably more mental. It plays quite a lot on your mind. It played on my mind when I was at because I just came back from a back surgery, and we played a game against Western Province at home, and we needed to win 5 games on the bounce to win the county champion. So started off really well. I got 94 not out, and then after that, I didn't actually play a game at all. And every single time that you try and communicate with them and ask them what are the reasons why you're not playing, they can't really give you. So I just not playing. So that it forces you to have quite a strong mind, and I think that's why mental health is becoming a big problem in sport in general, in sport, any country that you're playing. There's such a high demand for the performances week in and week out. We put more pressure on ourselves, and I think it's just important to make sure that your support base is really strong, that are around you. Obviously, video call and that type of stuff make it a little bit easier when you're far away. But I think it's just having or ensuring that your inner circle is tight as we speak to. And coming back to your point, we've got an association in South Africa called SACA. It's the South African Cricketers Association, where they've got obviously sports psychologists you can actually speak to in order to overcome those mental issues you have. Yeah, my biggest thing was I'm actually studying psychology myself. It's just to make sure that you open up about it and not bottle up inside you. You bottle up everything inside you, and one day something just goes off. It'll be so much worse, and work on that.
Ruan, it's quite bizarre. People listening to this podcast will probably think, and they will be completely wrong, and I will stand up and to anyone that we've planned this conversation, that we've discussed prior around that side of whether it's cricket, football, golf, or whatever you do. But it is so important, I'm far too old to think of what happened when I played. But I think at the moment, the way that the world is, the way that sport is, it's so important that message is out there. And I know Dooch believes it, and I know Joe Martin believes it. And we look at, even in the Lancashire League, what is expected of the players and what is, it's almost peer pressure. Me and Joe Dooch, more than Joe Martin, we go back and we'll call it bullying. But without speaking about it, it won't go away, and it won't. So it's so important for everyone who's listening that happens. So I really appreciate you there, Ruan, for going through that and saying how much pressure there is. So when you're moving, states within South Africa, you're still working your nuts off. You're still wanting your aim is to play international cricket. How does it come about that you come to the UK? How did that happen, and how did you feel about it at the time? Is that extra pressure, I guess?
I think it's a good opportunity. I think exactly what I told you earlier, the different conditions. Obviously, I had quite a slow start this side, trying to adapt quite different, and putting added pressure on yourself because you basically labeled as a pro, so you have to come here and perform week in and week out. So I think for me, it was more a case of finding that experience as well. And I spoke to Avi de Villiers, and he said one of the key things for him was he came over the UK, him and then Faf du Plessis. They said it just gave them a lot more like tools in their game. You can't really explain to people what the experience coming to the UK playing your cricket side, but they said it just improved their cricket so much. And I think it's just something that it takes you out of your comfort. Obviously, it's nice seeing new places and traveling a little bit around the world, but I think it's important to get a lot of game time for us, especially with our seasons being so short. Generally, last season, for me, more it was getting as much game time as possible side and just trying to hone on different skills that I have. And coming back to the mental side again, and that's what I did. I put too much pressure on myself. And cricket being such a mental game, you make stupid mistakes picking too much off the field. It's actually so simple. You just go out there and back what you've done, back your preparation, just go for it. Since I've done that, it's actually made my cricket so much better, and it feels like there's actually a weight off your shoulders because you can just go out there. And the biggest thing for me is I try to have as much fun when I play cricket, and I play every single game as it's the last game.
But it's not life or death.
No.
If you try something, it does happen, then it doesn't happen. And some spectators, I'm not just talking about Lowerhouse, I'm talking in general, they think, oh no, the world's going because England have got beat or South Africa has got beat or the rest of it. But it hasn't really. It's disappointing. It used to take me 2 or 3 days to get over it. And we're all different. We're all different around that. So it is so important, is that. Joe Martin, just bring you in here around Ruan, the way, because it was unbelievable, the start of the season. This summer is just so unreal, Ruan, as to, even previous summers, how wet and cold it was at the start, and all of a sudden it goes red hot. How did you, as players, Joe, find helping Ruan and managing the conditions and getting the points that you actually got and managing the season at the start of the season? How did that go?
So I think that in the first 3 weeks, and Ruan wasn't here, as wet as I've played, in the wet. So pot luck of whether you get a game on, and even then, I think you win to a massive level. It's wet, but we played well. And then when Ruan arrived, it was incredible sunshine. That game at Enfield, it was hot. It was hot, and then it's been hot ever since, except for these past couple of weeks. But they are completely different conditions. Ruan played in. I would say more your batting than your bowling. The pace of And I think all we can do is make sure that his game gets whatever it needs to, and he's scored important runs and taken important wickets and played well. So, and I can say that because I am older than you, which is remarkable.
Oh my God!
I know. Ez is the first pro that has been younger than me that I've played with.
I've never thought of that before, because you're not a spring chicken anymore, Joe. Don't try and blag that you're still 21.
I'm still in my 20s, so...
Yeah, you are, only just, but you look about 18 still,
yeah.
which we're all jealous of, No, it's good that you say that, and, obviously the spectators and the people, walking around the ground, their feedback from the players is that Ruan has been an absolute diamond. In the dressing room, his commitment, his want to push the players, push the amateurs, push himself has been second to none. Which again is, whether it's the Lowerhouse way, whether it's South Africans, whether it's Australians, whether it's New Zealanders, it doesn't matter. That's the way it seems to go. And, whilst we're winning, that's great. And if we're losing a few and not at the top like we are now, we manage it. Dooch, how, as far in your role within the cricket circles, you play a significant role, which is very understated, that people don't realise, how important it is. How do you find the way Ruan settled in and the performance? Then we can move on to the team, how that's developed.
Well, I've watched nearly every game, not absolutely every game, but I've watched almost every game. And the thing that I've been most impressed with is his combative nature. I like a pro who gets stuck in.
Yeah.
And Ruan definitely does that. Obviously, the cricket side of things you kind of take for granted, don't you? Really, when you sign a professional, it should be good at cricket if you sign a professional. But what else?
We've signed a few, Joe, that maybe haven't been, haven't we? We've had a couple of professionals that weren't that good at cricket, but
no. But I'm looking for somebody to come over and get in tune with the way that the team plays and be aggressive in games and get into the spirit of the team and the club. And from watching on the sidelines, Ruan definitely does that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You can see, and the chats I've had with the other players, they love him in the dressing room for, the way he contributes and the way he understands our players. So we can continue and we can talk about this forever, but I'd like to get back to the Burnley game. So, Ruan, you've seen the way Ben Heap is, the way he captains the side, the way he's certainly this season, he's got even better at his aggressive opening batting, that he will take the game to the opposition. What were your thoughts on Sunday, getting to Turf Moor and realising it's such a big game? How did you think the game would go ahead, and how were you going to try and manage it?
Obviously, spoke to a couple of guys beforehand and said they had quite a decent side. I think probably one thing me and Ben obviously are tactic and how we wanna go about things. And for me, it's just not looking at it as it's that big of a game. I think it's just taking it as a normal game again. You're still gonna play cricket. You're still gonna see a red ball. You're still gonna bat. Still gonna bowl. I think a lot of people fall under the thing of it's a big game, so we need to be on it. We need to do this. We need to do that, and you end up trying a little bit harder, and that normally causes you to do not out of your comfort zone, but out of the ordinary. I think that's the small moments that we actually won in that game. We probably played the more simple cricket during the whole game. I think with regards to our bowling, we never really took our foot off the gas, that the game was going to get reduced. So we tried to keep as tidy as possible, and it ended up working in our favour in a sense. And I think with our batting, we were always in control of the game. We just lacked a little bit of one. We needed one guy to bat through, and we would have won. It's just those small moments where we need to stay a little calm. Myself included, we wanted to finish the game as good as possible. We didn't know if the rain was going to arrive. Yeah, but I think the biggest thing is it was a big team effort. Everybody pulled their weight. Everybody. I think that's what makes us such a good team, and why we are doing so well. We know exactly what our end goal is. Everybody works towards that. They're always willing to help each other, and I think the trophy made a very good start. And if we can continue, we'll have a bit.
Ruan, I mean that is exactly Well, I was going to say, in regard to the way the game went, my brother Matt was watching it towards the end, and he wasn't sure. He's thinking, "Oh no, but that's a bit of an old Lowerhouse legacy." Even when you got out, and I just convinced Charlie was going to see it through. I just thought Charlie will just bat real sensibly, and that the young lads bat around him. And when he got out, I thought, this is not what happened. But going back to the bowling. I thought you bowled as a team really, really tight, and I'll ask Joe Martin to comment on this. I don't think Burnley took the game. I think they were thinking more about the conditions and what's going to happen, and who's going to bowl next. Frankie continued to bowl when he, in his own words, he's struggling. He gets stiff as a board, and I think we kept them down to probably, I don't know, maybe 80 runs short of what they really should have been before the rain came. Joe Martin, was that evident on the field? It didn't seem to be seaming around a lot. I mean, there were a couple of great balls when you were stood up, but was it that difficult to bat on?
I would describe it. I don't think it wasn't. It was an abrasive surface, Jez.
Right.
And it wasn't much easy for anybody unless you were a spinner. I think if you're a batter or a seam bowler, I think it was really hard to. If you
right, okay, so the batting was difficult, you think?
Yeah, I don't think
early on. Yeah.
I think Burnley was scoring at less than 3 and over, and 18 in 27.
Yeah.
Spinners took the majority of the wickets.
Yeah. I just thought it seemed, looking, and again you get blinkered because of the sun. I just thought that they maybe, because the weather was clearly going to come, we all knew that was going to happen. I thought they might have pushed it on a little bit quicker and played for that. When Hockey came out to bat, he looked like he was on Blue Smarties to start with. He was hopping around like a frog in a blender, but then seemed to die a bit of a death, and it just dwindled out into a nothing. 125 or 42 did we bowl that well, or was the track that difficult?
Our bowlers deserve a lot of credit. They stuck to the plans really well. And we set and Ben set really good fields, which meant that it hit boundaries. And that makes it hard for amateur cricketers. I think when they can't hit boundaries, it's hard to rotate. So I think that was the difference.
Yeah. Certainly in those conditions for amateurs, it's a psychological thing. The sun's shining. There's quite a few on the ground, and the track looks okay. It looks, from a distance. It is a bit of a psychological thing, whereas pros and the top amateurs do manage that. But then we go out to bat, after that really quite strange weather, and it was forecast to be torrential and thunderstorms. It never really came, didn't it? There was a lot of rain came down and more drizzle and the grey that came over. But, all the weather apps were telling us you're going to get back on. Was there any hassles or issues around are we going to get on? Are we going to get a game in, Joe? Or were you all calm and collected?
It was fine, I think. We as soon as we could. We weren't looking to reduce the game. To a proper game as it could be. So that was and
I think all credit. I think the umpires, were fantastic at the way that they were that managed the game, and the Burnley players. It's not great having to wheel the covers out when it's absolute tipping down, but credit to them. And then we go out to bat, and I think it was 28 overs that we were allowed to face, and I'm not sure there were going to be any interruptions. And Ben did his normal, sea ball, hit it, and played aggressive. Frankie got out. Simi came in, didn't, really get stuck in. Dooch, I wasn't there at this stage. I'm following it either on Play Cricket or on Twitter. What were your thoughts at the outset there? Were there any doubts there, or were you comfortable? Can I just add though, for the listeners, bearing in mind we're probably missing 6 regulars at that stage because of the representative game and injuries, and Parry and Hope not being available. What were your thoughts then, Duke? Any doubts?
Not really. I thought immediately after sort of Ben got going, I thought, well, we're going to win this comfortably. But I did always have in the back of my mind that we don't usually win those games comfortably at Turf Moor. There's usually a bit of drama somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think we're about, looking at the card now, we're 52 for 3 with the Pro and Ben batting together, and chasing 1-8. Plenty of overs left. We were coasting really at that stage, but then unfortunately we did lose a couple of wickets. Paddy dug in, but the innings that Keegan played, and in conjunction with Charlie and Toxie a little bit as well, I thought was fantastic, and it was just exactly what we needed at the time. And Keegan, for those who don't know, hasn't played a great deal of first team cricket. This is probably the first time he's batted, Joe, is it, in the first team, certainly in the league.
So yeah,
and he comes out under the pump. Looks a little bit shaky to start. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. But the minute that he tried to play any aggressive shots, he smacked Oki into the car park, and then the very next ball nearly knocked the clubhouse down. So that at that particular time just gave us the shot in the arm that we needed. And after that happened, then we were sort of almost home and hose, really. Another bit of drama, obviously. We lost another couple of wickets. Joe, your run out, what did you think? Were you in? Looked tight from where we were?
Well, you never...
Yeah, you can. If your bat's over that line when the bails get broken...
Yeah.
Let him sit on fence, dude. He wants to sit on the fence.
Well, I mean...
Arsene Martin.
I thought I was close, and I dived. I put a dive in, and those that know me well, no, I don't dive. I don't ruin my jump.
But it's interesting there, Dukes, that you mentioned the likes of Keegan, Tom Olstead.
Yeah, we need to mention Tom.
Declan Metcalf. They all look like first team players. They look like they're in a squad of our first team squad now is probably 18 deep. After these have done what they've done, my brother and myself went to watch the first team in the Lancashire Cup at Great Ecclescake, and they didn't look out of depth their fielding, or when they came out to bat, they looked part of the team. Whereas when me and you played, and including you when you were a young lad coming in the first team, a lot of the youngsters seem out of the depth. And I know it's my brother, and I wonder if the last 2 or 3 years, the way Stan's brought juniors in, the way they've come through the second team, the structure that is in place now, it's not a case of, oh shit, I'm in the first team and I'm a rabbit in headlights. I think the players that come in, they've obviously welcomed, but they look settled. And does that contribute to Keegan playing the shots he played? Tom Olstead coming in for one ball and hitting a 4 like he did, which is, the tough times he's had in the last 12 months. It's everything. That means the world to him and to the spectators that follow. And that's, I think, credit to you, Dooch, and the other people who've done what they've done in the second team previously. I don't know if you've any comment on top of that, Dooch. I know I've talked a lot about it, but I think they settled first team players, those lads now. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think a lot of credit needs to go to Matt for the way that he's looked after them in the twos for the last few years, and having that. Matt sort of instilled a lot of that in me when I was a junior. That the winning mentality and the sort of the approach to games. He's clearly had an impact on them lads who've come through the second 11. So yeah, he does deserve a lot of credit. But just on Tom, I'm sure most people who listen to this podcast will be well aware of. He's had a difficult spell, and to see him sort of get that. Sort of release in his cricket. He's brilliant. He's a great lad. Everybody who knows him will say he's a fantastic character. And to see him sort of be centre stage on Sunday in such a big game like that was great. So yeah, hopefully he gets a few more opportunities as well.
Yeah, here. And then we could look at. We're talking now. We're not even mentioned Simmer. It's like Simmy's been playing for the last 15 years. Simmy's brand new. He's got that 90 odd. He's got that great 30. He's another one that's come through that system, and that is, and all these players, Ruan, talk about you as if this is so good. They're playing with this overseas professional that they would never have dreamed of playing. So no matter what happens in the season, and your optimism, and I'm with you, and trophies. What's gone on is absolutely fantastic. So let's put that to bed now. We've won that game. We're still top of the league, but it's only just. So can we just, between the four of us, just have a look at how the season's gone, prior to this weekend, and who we think the top sides are. Joe Martin, are we still Darwin? Have been such a fantastic side over the last 2 or 3 years. They're obviously going to be there. Are they our main threat as we head the table at the halfway stage?
I think there is a whole host of teams that could tackle challenge because.
What a typical Joe Martin answer!
If you look at, I'm still.
Have you ever thought about going into politics, Joe?
Well, technically, I am. But if you look at the table, it's very tight. I'm still making sure that we don't get relegated. That's my single task of the season. But I think it is really tight. If you look at maybe the top 5 or 6 teams, they're all within a single win.
But anybody can see that from looking at the table, Joe. Jez wants your insight into who you think out of those top teams would be the biggest danger to us.
Right, I would say.
From what you've seen, you've played everybody once now. From what you've seen as a player, what can you give us a little insight, a little nugget?
I would say it's between Todd, Burnley, Norden,
Darwin, and Littleborough. And maybe us. John Martin, let me spell it out a little bit. I was trying to give you the out for Darwin because they are now 6 and they've been so good over the last 2 or 3 years. My gut feeling is Todd aren't good enough.
I know that.
I'm
not sure. I think that Todd they've got good batters and bowlers. They bat relatively deep, and they've got 5 good bowlers. They'll be there.
Right. Okay. Right. So we've got something out here. I personally thought the game when they beat us was their swan song. I'm not sure they're going to emulate that much more. But you're saying they've got some good players. Littleborough, they've not been up there. As much
promoted, just promoted
as we expected, yeah. And when they were in the league, in the first division previously, have they got quality, Joe Martin, that could keep them going till the end of the season?
They've got a very good pro, and they have some. They could be there. They
could be there. So Burnley, then, Joe Martin. I'm just not sure Burnley score quick enough. I don't think that they can push games and push sides.
But they certainly bowl a lot of teams out.
Yeah, but runs win your games.
So
batters win your games, Jez. Bowlers win your leagues.
Yeah,
exactly.
Agreed.
And then the final one, if we say in the top 6, and we've written off Clitheroe, which is a bit of a sweeping statement. Norden, they've no paid pro, so they're going to be there, Joe.
You've got some very good players. This is a fruitless conversation
because you won't commit to anything.
Every team that you've mentioned, Jez, they've got good batters, good bowlers, good cricketers. They've all got them, according to Joe.
Testament to the league, Jez.
Joe, if you'd a spare £1 note, and you got odds of 100 to 1 on any of those top 6 sides, who would your £1 note go on?
I'd put it in an ice.
100 to 1. You're a complete dickhead. Yeah, and get about 3% over the next million years.
It's that they're not giving savings.
So we can't get you.
That's right,
We can't get you to commit to anything.
I'm not comfortable committing to things, so I don't like preempting. It's like at work if people. I don't know. I'm just not. People. Did you have a good weekend? Or are you going to have it? What you do? I'll go. Yeah, it was okay, and it could have been fantastic. Glass half full, I think, Jez. I did have a lovely weekend.
Well, I think your glass.
Yes.
I think your glass is broken.
Or just the half.
So let's talk about. Is there anything else within the season? Any of the games that we could discuss or mention about now between Joe, Dooch, and Ruan?
What about the Worsley Cup?
Oh,
let's chat.
Good game, Norden are a good team. Good batters, good bowlers.
Who's going to win?
Is that your answer?
After Ruan, that.
What's the question?
Are we going to beat Norden in the semi-final of the Cup?
100%. I think we've got too much firepower.
Good lad. Good lad. Are you listening, Joe?
Well, I'm sat next to him, Joe.
If you don't often listen.
Well, yeah.
So as far as the Cup goes, semi-final at home, and the winners of that semi-final have the final tie. There are plans afoot, listeners, to try and get some semi-professional commentary for the whole of the semi-final on YouTube.
Fantastic.
It's still in the melting pot, as they say. There's a few concerns on the Lowerhouse committee. I was in deep conversations with the managing director and the secretary this weekend, and one of them said, I don't think we should do it because if people get drunk, they swear and say things they shouldn't. And the other one's got a big head. So I think we're going to go ahead and we'll leave out the one that might, or the people that might say things that are inappropriate or not relevant. So hopefully fans, spectators of Lowerhouse, we will get the commentary aligned to the YouTube throughout the game, and we're looking at maybe 10 presenters and commentators that will come on. But that said, don't not come down and watch the game because of it. We do need as much support as possible, verbally and financially. Anything else on the organisational side, Dooch, around the Cup, or anything else you want to talk about cricket before we move on to the Lowerhouse draw?
No, I don't think
so. Joe Martin, anything you want to add or talk about before we move on?
We've had a good start. We can't keep going.
Ruan, I'm sorry to subject you to be sat in the room with Arsene Wenger. Anything do you want to add?
Who, myself?
Yeah, about the season, to the supporters. We will do a roundup at the end of this podcast where everyone can have a little bit of an input of anything that we've forgotten, but anything you want to bring up now whilst Joe Martin gets his random ball.
I just think the game against Todd was quite a tough one for us. Control of that game the whole time, and we just ended up losing it. So I think just one big thing for us is make sure that we stay in the game at all times. We play good cricket, remain calm. There's not a lot of teams in the league that will be able to stop us. So I just got a very good chance of winning games. I think it's set up quite nicely for us. A couple of fixtures that are coming up, playing in quite a few games in lower ranked teams, and teams that are just below us are playing each other. So we could pull ahead in the end. I think it's actually amazing that you guys said about the bowlers win you championships. We top of the log, we've only got 4 bowling points, whereas the other team, I think the average between all of them are probably up to 80. It's actually shows the quality of cricket that we've actually played to remain top.
So that's a great point, Ruan, that we 4 bowling points, 19, 8, 13, 13, 16, 14. Yeah, it's a great point. And it's all right bowling, on poor wickets and bowling negative, but it's runs that people watch. People want to watch, and I understand that bowling sides out wins your games. But crikey, when we go on to win the league, that will be some achievement to be worth looking at historically. What other clubs have done the same without having that real firepower up front. Anything else, Joe? Are you ready for this this draw, Joe? I know I've dropped it on you.
You're ready.
You're ready. Fantastic. Right, we've actually got 2 draws to draw. We didn't do the end of May, and we can do the end of June now because it's late in June. So 1 to 177, please, Joe Martin. If you don't mind spinning your balls round and then picking one out.
93.
Number 93, Pete Atherton. Pete
Brilliant.
Atherton's been coming down the club since I think 1947 was his first season. He's been a spectator ever since. Had a good chat with him on Friday night. He was saying how much he's enjoying the cricket and how much he's loving watching the positive nature. And obviously the son of
Turf
one
Moor
of the
on
founders.
Sunday as well.
Was he there? Yeah, I never saw him.
Turf Moor on Sunday, yeah.
He will watch forever. So well done, Pete. £100 coming to Pete Atherton. Second prize for the May draw, please, Joe, for £80.
Number 81.
Number 81. He's won not that long ago, because I know we've made comments before. Young lad, great thespian, helps out a lot at Christmas with the children charities and dressing up as, I think, is it Uggy Bear? I think they call Kev K.
Excellent. Joe Beneduces.
Well done, Kev.
What, Joe?
Your first captain, is that right?
First Lowerhouse captain, yeah.
Please, Joe.
What's that, Jez?
Third prize, £70, please, Joe.
Number 167.
167. Crikey, I had a pint with him. I hadn't seen him for ages at weekend. Pete Morris. He's been a member for donkey's years. Pete and Jane are really good friends of Matt and Di's. They come down watching now and again. I think they watch Burnley more than us, but they joined the 100 Club in 2007. So £70 to Pete Morris. That's a really good winner. Joe Martin, fourth prize for £50, please.
148.
You need to get some lower numbers going, Joe.
Random.
Number 148 is Chris and Lisa Howarth, spelt with an O. 148. I think Dooch, you might be able to help me with this. I think that's Sharon Stansfield's sister.
Correct.
Look at that. I've got it. Ruan, previously, I make a fool of myself in this, in that I don't know who anyone is and say that it's someone's best friend's sister. And then these all laugh at me and say it's not. So I am coming to a little bit. So thanks, Joe. Thanks for that clarity. So then we move on to. I thought you were going to say something then, Dooch, about picking numbers out.
I was, but I decided to. Yeah, I decided to keep it to myself.
Who've passed away.
Yeah.
So the June draw, the first prize, please. Put all the numbers back in. Young Joe Martin. The first prize for £100 for the June 2023 draw is
83.
Number 83. It's Dave Johnson. Dave Johnson is the lad who's been watching us for donkey's years, and he helps Stan on the ground. He cuts the outfielders, Dave.
What's the grass? Fantastic.
Is he there today, Joe?
No, he usually puts it late in.
Second prize, £80, June 2023.
Number 43.
Oh, we're getting a little bit smaller, getting towards my number. Number 43. I mean, this lad has been on the ground since. In fact, he might be one of the oldest members that comes on at the moment. I think we could have a short discussion if there's anyone older.
Blez.
No, it's not Blez. He's about 2 or 3 years older than Blez. So, Joe Martin, who is the oldest person you know that comes on the ground, that's watched us for years, and is a fantastic fella?
I mean, there's a comedy answer here, but
well, do the comedy first.
No, you'll beat me up.
Me? You dickhead.
Arthur Hall?
Oh, no. Yeah, this lad's a little bit younger than Arthur. Initials are SP.
Was it?
Yes,
no, he won't
Steve Barrington.
Is he in it? I didn't think he'd be in it.
Yeah, he's been in it. He only takes cash, but good on Steve. £80 coming your way, Steve, if you're listening. June, third prize, £70, please, Joe.
Number 8.
Oh, bless him. He's our favourite secretary of all time, Keith Fairclough. Well done, Rusty.
Fantastic.
£70 coming your way. People scoff when Rusty wins because he does win quite often, but he does have 4 numbers, so he has a lot more chances than most of us. Some people don't have any who are heavily involved in the club. But anyway, that's another story. We'll move on.
I wonder if he was happy with the result on Sunday, because, he does have a foot in both camps, doesn't he, Rusty?
I think he's very much down back in Lowerhouse camp now. Do you not think, Duke?
I don't know.
I think the time when, and thankfully he won't be listening to this, but I think the time when he walked down the steps at Burnley and tripped over the boundary rope and dropped his gloves everywhere and his cap and his bat, went out, got a first ball duck, and then tripped on the way back up. Put pay to his love of Burnley when I think it was Roland Harrison said, "You silly old T-word." Well done, Rusty. 70 quid. Fourth prize. Last one, thanks, please, Joe. June 2023. Fourth prize for £50.
Remarkably, Jez, after complaining about how hard the numbers were, we have number 9, 8 and 9. Number nine. This is Donald Coates' old number, and his wife has taken it on. She took it on since Donald passed away. It's probably when did Donald leave us? I think it's 2 years ago. So well done, Mrs. Coates. £50 coming your way. And that concludes the draw for the May and June 100. Well, it used to be the 100 Club. Now it's called the Lowerhouse Draw. Please, any listeners, if you want to join, just get in touch. It's easy to pay. It's either by standing order or through PayPal. We really appreciate everyone's contributions. It keeps the club going, pays in about £400 a month, and we pay out about £500 a month in prizes in total. So thanks, everyone. If anyone wants to get in touch, then please do. Yes. So that's the end of the draw. Joe Martin. Why was it originally
called
the 100 Club because there was 100 people in it, or because that was the top prize?
Well, no, believe it or not, before even I was involved at the cricket club, they used to have draws like this, and there was only 100 people allowed in because of licensing laws that you're only allowed to pay out so much prize money. So there used to be, Stan might be able to tell you better, there used to be people on a waiting list to join a draw to fundraise for a local club. But then when either the laws got relaxed or we just started to ignore them, we're now up to 177 and we call it the Lowerhouse Draw. Be a good discussion that to get Stan on as to why that happened. So that's the way we're up to. So I'll go around you all, and if there's anything else you want to contribute or bring up, we can chat even longer. It's not too late in the night. But I'd like to thank Joe Martin for coming on and helping out with the podcast once again. You're invaluable, Joe. It keeps it going. The spectators love it. Thanks very much. And Dooch, again, coming on. I know you're a busy lad and looking after your own work and the cricket club. It's fantastic. And also Ruan for being our special guest. Thanks very much. But I'll go back to Joe Martin. Anything you want to add or bring up that you want to discuss before we finish up?
Joe Beneduces' chair finished.
Good point. He's not moved for a bit. I don't know. Look at that. Oh my goodness, it's a light colour. Are you sitting in that, Joe, or Rachel?
It's going to be Rachel, so when she sits in it, it just all collapses a bit underneath her.
No, well, I was thinking more with the colour of it. It's a very light grey. With your farts, it might discolour it quite a lot. But no, that looks good, Duke. Well done.
I reckon you should taste.
Say again, Roo.
I think you should give it a taste drive there, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah,
so
fine.
Joe Duke is just going to sit in it. He's pretending to sit in it, and he's now lowering his bottom. He's lowered it. Oh no, he's got up, and I think he got up because his bottom wouldn't fit in it.
What colour is it, Joe? Is it grey or white?
It's like a light grey.
Light grey. Lovely.
Yeah, it looks really good. Anything else, Joe Martin? No, Duke. Anything you want to add halfway through your season?
No, all going well. Happy with how everything is progressing, and looking forward to the second half.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Roo. Thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate giving us a bit of an insight into the background of your career. We wish you all the best for the rest of the season at Lowerhouse and your cricket career going forward back in South Africa. If you can come back, we'd love you to come back. Is there anything you want to add and say to the spectators before we close the podcast down?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it. A lot of fun. And to the Lowerhouse people, means a lot more to us and for my thing. And especially with a couple of big games coming up, that extra little bit of fire in the belly. So just supporting us. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. It's our pleasure. It really is. It's great to have you on. And the spectators will push. I know they will push. They love you to bits, and they love the way they play cricket and the way the first team are playing. They will keep coming out, and hopefully the weather will keep fine. I think we will play our best cricket the longer the weather keeps going. So, all spectators, please give us a shout out, follow, listen, like, everything else. If you're thinking of any guests, you want to get anyone on, you want any topics that you want us to discuss, then please just message us on Twitter or contact one of us on Facebook or personally, and we will have a go at getting that guest on and having some good fun. Thanks all for listening. Keep subscribing, and we'll catch you all for the next episode. Thank you. Goodbye.
Order! Send more house to save the house!